Dealing with an attention-seeking student.
Of the three basic human needs, the most important is to feel loved and to belong. If a student believes that the only way she can feel loved and can experience a sense of belonging is through demanding attention, she will prefer negative attention to no attention at all. It's the most common reason for misbehavior in the classroom. Mr. Thomas coaches football and teaches mathematics. One of his players, a boy by the name of Jorge, is a student in his class. Jorge constantly interrupts class sessions with inappropriate behavior. While the rest of the class is working on an assignment, he hangs around the teacher's desk asking for help on material that he is perfectly capable of handling on his own. Or Jorge will interrupt the lecture, blurting out questions like, "Mr. Thomas, how do you think we'll do against Tremont High in next Friday's game?" Or, "Coach, weren't you proud of me at last week's game?" The boy's behavior is frustrating and annoying to Coach Thomas and the rest of the class. In dealing with Jorge, Coach Thomas remembered to ask himself the question, what is the unmet need of this boy? The tip-off for Coach Thomas in trying to identify Jorge's unmet need was to examine the feelings that he was experiencing as a result of the boy's actions. If a teacher is feeling annoyed or frustrated, then the student's unmet need is to feel loved and a sense of belonging. And Jorge's means of filling this need was an inappropriate attempt to call attention to himself. In dealing with a disruptive student seeking negative attention, the most important task of the teacher is to extend the unconditional acceptance and love that says to the student, "I care for you. You belong in this class. When problems arise, we will solve them together." When a student's craving for love and a sense of belonging is satisfied by a caring teacher whom the student views as an advocate, it alleviates the need for the student to engage in disruptive, attention-seeking behavior. Also, once a teacher has established warm, friendly relationships with their students, a disruptive student will not receive the support of the class. Therefore, creating an atmosphere whereby students come to view the teacher as an advocate rather than as an adversary is essential in maintaining classroom decorum. One good approach in dealing with an attention-demanding child is to give the student attention when it is not expected. The trick is to catch the student doing something good and then to give attention to that behavior. When teachers give unexpected attention to positive behavior, it helps a student to feel wanted and loved. James Wright offers some suggestions for giving what he calls random positive attention. Pat the student on the shoulder and give him the thumbs up sign. Make eye contact and smile at the student. Check in with the student to see how she is progressing with an assignment. Call on the student in class when you're fairly certain he knows the answer. Pass the student a note with a cheerful comment or compliment. Invite the student to summarize for the group the main points of a classroom discussion. Converse briefly with the student. Select the student to carry out a classroom task that she likes, like passing out papers, for example. Give brief, specific encouragement regarding the student's work or behavior, such as, "I really like seeing how careful you are in drawing that map." Be creative in finding ways of giving an attention-seeking student some positive attention when she isn't expecting it. It's important that teachers not reward a student's attempt to get negative attention. If a student is able to draw attention to himself through misbehavior, he'll be encouraged to continue the tactic. So, if it's not too disruptive to the class, a teacher should not give undue attention to negative behavior. If the student's actions do not receive support from either the class or from the teacher, a disruptive student usually will quit the misbehavior. When it is impractical for a teacher to ignore an attention-seeking child, teachers can use a self-evaluation technique as a means of getting the disruptive student to think about what he is doing and hopefully to change his inappropriate behavior. Utilizing a calm, friendly, non-judgmental voice, the teacher can ask the misbehaving student the 3 classic self-evaluating questions. What are you doing? What should you be doing? What are you going to do now? A self-evaluating question helps divert attention away from the student and instead focuses attention on the behavior itself. The idea is for teachers to ask questions that will get students to stop and think about what they're doing and then to choose more appropriate behaviors. Another way of dealing with an attention-seeking child is an alternate choice strategy. Suppose you have a student who is disrupting your classroom. An alternate choice strategy would be to offer that student a choice between the current situation or an alternate course of action, either of which is acceptable to the teacher. For example, a disruptive student could be asked, "Matthew, will you please continue your reading assignment, or do you want to start working on your essay?" "Mary, the choice is yours. You may either stop what you're doing and join the rest of the class and working on the algebra problems, or you may go visit with the assistant principal." "Todd, I'm wondering which you would rather do. Work with your small group on the chemistry experiment or read chapter 22 in your chemistry book." If a teacher has an attention-seeking student in his class, it is important that he have in mind some alternate choices before an assignment even begins. It is important that both self-evaluation questions and alternate choice questions be delivered in a friendly, non-confrontational voice. If the teacher's voice carries even a hint of annoyance or frustration, the student will feel attacked and the inappropriate behavior will continue. Above all else, a nurturing teacher should exert every effort in helping an attention-seeking student to feel loved and appreciated and to feel like she belongs and is wanted in the class. The positive attention given to the child will pay huge dividends in bringing the irritating behavior to a halt. The next time Jorge tried to interrupt class with a football question, Coach Thomas told the boy, "Let's discuss this after class, okay?" And then had a discussion with Jorge afterwards, telling him that he would enjoy talking football with the boy outside of the classroom, but that he was not to bring up the topic during class time. In doing so, Coach Thomas accomplished 2 things. He stopped the in-class interruption by asking Jorge a self-evaluating question, and then he set up an opportunity to give Jorge some positive attention at a later date. A nurturing, caring classroom environment is essential in conveying to students that they are valued members of the class. When students feel confident that they are loved and that they belong, they will no longer need to seek negative attention. Remember now, the question to ask when a student misbehaves is, what is the unmet need of this child? Address that need and the misbehavior will usually disappear. Let's take a look at our student misbehavior chart. What is the unmet need of the student? If the student's actions seem to say, "Look at me, listen to me," and you feel annoyed and frustrated, "Why is this whiny kid bothering me?" then you're probably dealing with an attention-seeking student.
In seeking affirmation from the teacher, the student decides that negative attention is better than no attention at all. The student's unmet need is the need for love and a sense of belonging.
One good approach in dealing with an attention-demanding child is to give the student attention when it is not expected. Another technique is not to reward a student's attempt to get negative attention. If a student is successful in drawing attention to himself through misbehavior, he'll be encouraged to continue the tactic. When a teacher can no longer ignore an attention-seeking child, she can use a self-evaluation technique. Ask the student these 3 self-evaluating questions. 1, what are you doing? 2, what should you be doing? And 3, what are you going to do now? Self-evaluating questions help a student to stop and think about what he is doing and to choose more appropriate behaviors. Another way of dealing with an attention-seeking child is an alternate choice strategy. Give the student a choice between equally appropriate behaviors. Teachers should exert every effort in helping an attention-seeking student to feel loved and appreciated, and to feel like she belongs and is wanted in the class. The key question to ask in dealing with a misbehaving student is, what is the unmet need of the student? When a child's need to be loved and to belong is filled by a caring teacher, the attention-seeking behavior will usually disappear.